Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Um, I have a bunch of things to get to. The majority of this video is going to be about Trump's inauguration, and there's some great funny moments as we go through it. I watched some of the, one event where it was in a, they couldn't do it outdoors because of bad weather or something. Um, but interesting and weird and all these things. But I have a bunch of comments to get to first, and a bunch of stuff to do with the Passion of the Christ stuff. I already have a couple of the bot comments too as well, and there are people reacting to my whatever it is, my take on the Bible and Jesus and these things, right? And the whole video is going to be about how the truth is, people who are looking for the truth or who are seeking the truth are very rare, right? Because it's there for anybody to see. It's just our ability, our personal ability to accept it, and people's need to be right. I mean, more. The truth community, and everything on the internet is people wanting to be right, and I want to get into all that. And there's no better place to start than with the flat earthers. So to go with this, I was already going to do the video about the comments. Some of the comments were coming in. I'm reading the comments. I was already going to start the video this way. One of my longtime viewers sent me this video, and flat earthers are having a meltdown over the Antarctica trip and 24-hour sun. I think the guy's name who did this video is Professor Dave Explains It All. Now, Professor Dave seems like an anti-truther guy based on, my watching this video, so he isn't like one of us. But what he's documented here, and it's kind of funny, like he has a couple of good jokes, like he has some, firmament jokes and things, is that three flat earthers got invited by somebody, one of their friends, one of the guy's friends, to go to Antarctica and experience a 24-hour Sunday, which blows up any kind of, the flat earth model that doesn't work. And this isn't me just crapping on flat earthers. There's a bigger point here. It's just using them as an example, and then there's going to be stuff with Christians as an example. And it's not like I'm crapping on either group. It's everybody's personal inability to deal with the truth when they have to face it. And so the flat earth model is that the sun disappearing night and day is that it's still above a flat earth. It's just perspective makes it disappear, which makes no sense, right? It's that the sun disappears over the horizon. It's one of the, they have this flat earth model where there's some kind of unknown celestial object, and the sun and the moon are spinning around them like a mobile, like you have with a baby. They have a mobile over their crib, and it's spinning like that, right? Where there's some kind of connection between an invisible, unknown celestial object and the sun and the moon that keeps the sun and the moon elevated and rotating over the flat earth, right? And at a certain point, because of perspective, the sun disappears. And there's just no, like, it's a silly, part of their, I mean, there's huge holes in their whole flat earth theory, right? And so they go to the Antarctica and they see that there's a 24-hour sun where you can see the sun all day. And they document it for other flat earthers. And this guy says this.
Let's start with Jaron.
Sometimes you are wrong in life. And I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. But I respect Will Duffy for being a stand-up guy, at least in the way that he kept saying it was true. I kept saying it wasn't. He said, "You want to go? I'll take you," and brought me here. And it's a fact. The sun does circle you in the south. So what does that mean? You guys are going to have to figure that out yourself. Don't listen to my beliefs or my opinion. It shouldn't matter to you. But at least you should be able to accept that the sun does exactly what these guys said as far as circles the southern continent. So that's about it. I realize that I'll be called a shill for just saying that. And you know what? If you're a shill for being honest, so be it.
Okay, so he is they did call him a shill. So the rest of the video, the part I saw about it, the guy who's using this, I don't know if it's the Will Duffy guy or this guy, they're all filming. There's 4 people who all have YouTube channels or streams and doing live streams. They're all filming, and one of them has a green filter on, a green screen filter, and some guy's wearing something green, and it looks fake because he has a part of his clothing, and people are all like, "Oh, it's a green screen," because that's what flat earthers do. So they come back and they show that it is not a green screen, that the guy had a green screen filter on, and they turn it off and they show the guy's coat with it off. The same guy's wearing the same coat, and they show different lengths where people are standing at different parts. One guy's standing behind them. They have 2 people filming at the same time, and they're using a drone. And the flat earthers still are finding ways that it's a green screen. They completely destroy the green screen theory, and and the flat earthers keep on, doing what they do, and they do call them a shill, and they do get into it because they have no choice but to do that. This happened with the cubies. There was somebody sent me a video, and there's a young QB who was a part of a QB group. They used to do live streams and talk together and do some kind of almost like a podcast, but it was 3 different channels, right? It was 3 guys coming together, and he realized the QAnon shit was bullshit, right? And so he comes out and says it, and they immediately say he's been a government shill all along. He said, we knew each other since we were kids, right? And so they turn on him, and they turn on these guys, and they always will, because there's no ever admitting they're wrong. Being able to admit you're wrong is a huge part of being a truth seeker. It's the number one thing. You can't seek the truth unless you're willing to admit you're wrong. Or the more important thing, you have to realize that you were lied to, or you were indoctrinated, or the way that you were looking at something was incorrect. Like, you might have some of the stuff right, but some of the stuff is wrong. Like, if you're really a truth seeker, if you're really a truth seeker, that's what you have to do if you're seeking the truth, because it's really your personal view on things that's changing. Your distorted lens, your inability to see what's in front of you, right? Your inability to process or deal with things, and your personal preferences, right? Like, everybody doesn't, almost everybody doesn't want to die, at least on a conscious level and a just subconscious level. Some people who are death cult people, or suicidal. There's some part of them that death is something that you fight off. You have to have a resistance to dying. You have survival instincts. You're predisposed to living, to staying alive. And so death becomes a bad thing. And then pain and suffering, and then, destruction. A part of God's universe is about destruction. Things end. And you lose, there's loss, and there's whatever, right? You lose things, and you suffer these kind of losses to things that you're attached to. And so dealing with all those things, right? Attachment is a big part of being able to detach yourself from your own personal prejudices. The truth community is mostly about finding out the people who control the system and the system itself, and the evil people and the good versus evil. When Mel Gibson was talking to Joe Rogan, they talked about how there's good versus evil. And, of course, they're thinking they're the good guys, right? Which everybody does. And that's, for lack of a better word, a thinking error. There's people who are worse than you, right? There certainly is. There's almost, there's somebody who's the worst person in the world. And I don't know how you would, that's something for God to decide. And there's, horrible people that do horrible things. But that doesn't make you the good guy, right? And so when you start thinking of yourself as the good guy and the evil fighter, then you're already screwed. Because the evil that you're fighting is your own ego that's inside you, the potential demon, and the part of you that's, that's selfish and self-oriented, and whatever it might be. But then there's the nature of the truth. So let me get into some of these comments here. There's quite a number of them. And so let's start here. there's one that I want to get to that speaks to this specifically. I noticed more ads during the video this time. I was wondering if your settings were not allowing them during the video or something. So I think it's positive to see more. Thank you. My settings are just there's a thing where you say that you let YouTube run ads throughout the video, and it's whenever they do that. That's just a meta thing that I put in there for the comment. When I watched The Passion of Christ, I didn't see the torture, but the strength. We all are tortured in life in one way or another. But what most lack is the strength to come through it and find God. God is in all. God is in all. Love, I feel, is the secret ingredient. Love is being taken away from nature. Nature is nurture. Yeah, okay. But are you willing to endure what Jesus did? So the way that Jesus got to God, this is the example. It's not just Jesus, it's all of his disciples. If you read about his disciples and how they were killed, like they came out with new and creative ways to torture and kill them. Each one of them. Each one of them died by persecution. And so, are you willing to be crucified so you can find God, right? I mean, okay, Jesus did it for you. So that's okay, but you can't do it yourself, right? I mean, that's a silly way to look at it. Jesus showed you a path to get to heaven, to get to God, like in terms of your religion. That's really what it is, right? He's an example. If he died for everybody's sins so that we didn't have to die that way and didn't have to endure the tortures that he did, then why was all of his disciples tortured? I mean, go read about what happened to all of his disciples. And then other Christians. Christians for years were tortured and killed, fed to the lions and shit, right? I mean, think about all the things that Christians had to endure. And so it's silly what you're saying. You're silly that are you willing to, go through something like that in your own life? The whole imaginary deal that you're getting comes from the fact that you don't have to suffer what Jesus suffered, but you do because of all of his key guys did. And the thing about it is, it's a horrible way to look at God, because God is sacrificing his own son. Like Jesus is a human sacrifice. He's the ultimate human sacrifice. That's why Christians have a big problem with human sacrifices, whether it be, any number of wars or all of these things, right? That God sacrificed his own son means he did a human sacrifice of his own son. God made the conditions that Jesus would be tortured and killed in this way. And why would he do that for you? Why would he make his son suffer for, all of humanity, like all the scum and people in humanity? It makes no sense. You've been sold a bag of shit and you just won't accept that it's a lie about, the story about that. No one can die for your sins. And Jesus's torture was, it's a horrible thing. It's more of an example of what happens, especially in the West, when you become a spiritual person. Because Jesus was a threat to the government at that time, the Roman government, the Jewish religion, and the Pharisees, the money making. He turned the stuff out over in the temple, the money tables and things like that. He was a threat to the people of that area. Just like any saint is a threat to the king or the government, a spiritual person is a threat to especially here in the Western countries, the countries of white people, in Europe and America and these things, because it's a threat to business. Spirituality is a threat to the status quo. And a saint is torn down in one way or another. And as a spiritual person, if you have a proclivity, a predisposition to being spiritual, it's beaten out of you at a young age through the way that they approach sports. I said this when I started to, find out about the Sajmark, theory, the meditation. It talked about being soft. And I thought about it, like I was reading this, and I realized that, growing up playing sports, if you were called soft, you hear it now with the sports commentators. Oh, that team's soft. That person's soft, right? You're supposed to have a soft heart. And you're supposed to be, in sports, you're supposed to be a killer. In America, you're trained to be a killer in business, a killer in the military, a killer on the athletic field, a killer. Sociopaths are given heroic status, right? starting with Dirty Harry years ago with Clint Eastwood, and then all these other people. Of course, now, the corporate killers. Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, a poisonous snake. He has the killer instinct, right? But that other guy's soft. And I thought about that, how fucked up that was, right? Because of course you're supposed to be soft. Of course you're supposed to have compassion and feel for other people. But not in America. You're supposed to be a narcissistic, competitive, crush your opponent type of person. I mean, that's what we're taught at a young age. So even if you have a predisposition to being spiritual, it's beaten out of you, especially as a man, but even now as women who are, being trained to, you know, you're a mom, but go fight for your country in the military. You also have to be in the infantry, even though you got a couple of toddlers at home, right? And so it's silly, these comments where people are saying things that they themselves wouldn't endure. I watched The Passion for the first time recently, free on the tube. It was like watching a legal snuff film. And so, you know, like a better kind of, I mean, I just saw a couple scenes and I was like, holy shit. And then because some people comment about how bad it was. And I remember the violence and stuff, but I never, saw it. And then this person, creepy Joe Biden, because the devil doesn't have perfect knowledge, even though he isn't. So the person's responding, they've heard something from me. I have no idea what it is, right? Because, and I'll get into that with memory. Because the devil doesn't have perfect knowledge, even though he is an angel. So he didn't know until Jesus' death, probably, that it was indeed the Son of God and Messiah. The devil exists so we can grow. The devil exists so we can grow spiritually. You think you know all about Christianity, but you really don't. So this is the comment I want to get into. There's another one kind of like it. But to start off with, if you're a real Christian and you read the Bible and you're into the teachings, of course you're going to know more about the teachings than I do. I read the Bible as a kid. But that's not what the knowledge that I have. The knowledge that I have comes from being on a spiritual path, which Jesus was, right? And so for all of you who aren't on a spiritual path, and it's a decision you make in your life to cultivate a relationship with the divinity within you. And you can be good at it, bad at it. You can do it as a hobby. You can sort of, stick your toe in the water like you're going into the ocean. You dip your toe in the water, see if it's too cold, like that kind of thing. I mean, you could just be on the start of a spiritual path. But it's a significant change when you start contemplating that there's divinity within you. And you're forming a relationship and you're cultivating, a relationship with your soul and the divinity within you. And so that's what I talk about here. And I've done that. Like, that's indisputable because I've been doing that for 30 years, meditating and connecting with the divinity that's within me. It's like eating healthy foods or exercising. And one person saying, well, why are you an expert on being healthy? A person who isn't doing that, right? And you say, well, I'm exercising and you're making life choices. And my life choice in terms of this, my spiritual side, my whatever it is, my whatever spiritual life of my relationship with God is a spiritual one and not a religious one. And so there's a difference between following a religion and outsourcing your responsibility to have a internal relationship with God. And this is stated in Jesus' teaching, the kingdom of heaven is within. So what does that mean? I mean, if this idea that heaven is outside of yourself and you're going to die and go to heaven, Jesus blew that up. This whole idea that Jesus died for your sins, this contradicts all of those teachings. The kingdom of heaven is within you all the time. You don't need to die to go to heaven because you can contact the kingdom of heaven within you. You don't die and then go to the firmament or whatever the fuck you believe in, right? Heaven is within you, right? So this idea that whatever the sixth day God made heaven and earth, whatever it is, right? The first day God made heaven and earth. Is that it? In Book of Revelation or Genesis. Again, that's the old Jewish Bible. That's not what Jesus taught. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you. There's no place. It's a condition. It's a realm. It's not of the physical universe. You don't travel there. You're carrying it with you because you have a soul. That's what that teaching means. And people who are spiritual cultivate an internal relationship with the divinity within them. And when you do that, you see things completely different. And so, because of that, because like I've done that, personally, I see things from a perspective that you can't because you're not doing that. And it isn't making me better or greater. It's because I've made that choice and I have a relationship with the divinity within me, whatever that level is, because there's different levels to it. Like that's a step. You take a step into the spiritual realm where you seek to have a relationship to God. You're reaching out to God and connecting to God. And you can do that because it's there inside of you all along. So it's easy to do. It's something that people just choose not to do because people are scared that God's going to say, "Hey, stop doing things that you stop doing this, stop doing that," right? You're willfully doing wrong things and you know it. And when you start in a spiritual life, it's right there in your face. Every time you do something wrong, if you're meditating, you're cultivating a relation with God, God shows you in ways, it's like a defense mechanism to ward off the warnings that you're getting from the divine universe. I mean, these whispers of the brighter world messages, they say humanity has been warned over and over again. We keep on warning you, and you keep on doing the same old bullshit time and time again. Your leaders or you personally. There's warnings in your life. There's red flags. There's danger signs. You're doing the wrong thing constantly, but you have found ways to ignore those. And as soon as you open up to God, I mean, there's two great teachings in the Sarsmark system. One of them is rich people don't pray. Really rich people specifically, but rich people in general don't pray. Because if you start praying, you have all this resources and money that you can give to other people. You could actually fix some of the suffering on earth. If you're a billionaire, multi-billionaire, even a multimillionaire, and you are hoarding wealth, you could really help lots of people. You could distribute that wealth in a way that would benefit other people. Money that you're never going to spend, right? Things that you have that you're never going to use. Yachts that you're spending all this money to have a yacht that you go on twice a year, right? And don't even enjoy it. Things like this. So they don't pray because once you start praying, you would feel obligated to distribute some of the things that you have, but you want to hoard your wealth. You have people who are hoarders. That's what people who collect lots of wealth are. They're hoarders, and they're considered great people, and you see them, they're all weird. And one of the reasons is you keep on hoarding more and more stuff for themselves when people are suffering all around them, ignoring the suffering masses that you could help with. If all the rich people would give a helping hand in one way or another, it doesn't have to be a handout. It can be a way to facilitate opportunities for other people. There are people out there willing to do the work, willing to participate. They just don't have the opportunities. And you could help people, but you won't because you're a hoarder of wealth. And so you don't pray and you don't become spiritual because God would say, "Hey, you can help out already." Well, why are you praying to me when you could actually do good? When you could actually change things in the world. The other thing was with Master Chargi, who was St. Paul in his previous life, which is interesting in itself, and I'm not going to talk about that here. But he said that Christians don't want to interact with God. They want to interact with God's Son. And he said it's like, you don't want to talk to your boss. You're scared of your boss. So you go talk to his son. Hey, can you talk to your dad for me? This kind of thing, right? Because they don't really want to talk to God directly. And so that's an interesting take on Christianity, which I felt was very observant. And he was somebody who went through Christian schools. He went through a Christian school as a young person, and he read the Bible. And, of course, he had a past life as St. Paul, so he had a relationship with God, right? So there's another comment. I want to get into that. I want to continue this stuff with that. But if you are on a different level, another teaching from Master Chargi was the lowest part of the higher is still higher than the highest part of the lower. And that is, you can be the greatest person in the world. You could be a hero. You could be, exalted in some way as some great person. But a person who's just starting to be on a spiritual path is on a higher level, on a higher dimension. And so this idea that I don't know as much as you do about Christianity, Well, certainly I don't know the Bible and some of the bullshit teachings and some of the interpretations because I'm not listening to that shit. But my perspective comes from being on a spiritual path myself and understanding things about Jesus' life and some of the things I've experienced here by doing this, whatever I'm doing here. I've had, I have insight, like even being a spiritual person until I started getting comments and feedback and, followers or whatever they call it. And I don't think of people as followers, but that's what YouTube does, right? People following what I say. It made me appreciate what it's like the difficulties it's like to be a spiritual leader or something. Not that I consider myself that, right? But I understand it because people consider me that. And it's not great. And so experiencing those things. So my experiences that I've had with my connection to divinity within me and pursuing that relationship, and then all these other things that I've experienced with this YouTube channel and some of the other things that are personal to my life experience that have similarities to people like Jesus. I have insight to it, right? I have insight what it's like to deal with people who are desperate and are looking for somebody to help them, and you can't help them because they can't help themselves. I mean, they want to help themselves, they just don't have it in them. They're too bankrupt, right? They're too worn out. They're too beat down by life, and I understand that better now from doing this YouTube channel. So, like, someone can say, yeah, I don't know Christianity in terms of the bullshit teachings, but that thing they said, they also want to get into the thing they said about the devil, right? Let's go back to that comment, and because there's another thing I want to say about all this. That's the most important piece to this. It's about how truth is delivered. It says here, the devil exists so we can grow spiritually. Well, you're taking liberties with the Christian teachings by saying the devil is purposeful, that the devil didn't have his own individual fall. But the obsession with the devil made me do it, or this. It's like when you're a good person, it's God, and when you're a bad person, it's the devil. Like that's how Christians interpret life. Like your ups and downs, your choices that you make are either based in God or based in the devil. And it's externalizing something that should be internalizing it. And that's what spirituality is. Religion is following somebody else's, outsourcing your spiritual life and your spiritual choices and your responsibilities. But being spiritual means you do it inside yourself and you take responsibility for everything that you do, and whether you choose God or the devil, and the devil is your ego, right? If the devil has a hold on you, it's because you have an ego and you have desires and you have preferences and you have predisposition to a certain way of viewing things, and that's your ego, right? So the devil's control over you is your ego, and the soul that you need to exist is the divinity within you, but God doesn't manipulate. God doesn't, force his way. And so the devil is not something that you concern yourself. It's the inner devil. It's the potential demon within yourself, right? The devil is a straw man. It's the ego that you have to overcome. It's, it's the ego that says, fuck you, God, I want to do it this way. God shows you this is what you should be doing. This is the righteous path. And you say, fuck you, I don't want to do that. I want to choose wrong. So the devil within you is the part of you that wants to choose to do the wrong thing. And that, who can debate that, right? That you have a part of you inside you that doesn't want you to do what your soul and God wants you to do. Like, what thinking person could debate that? If there is God and there is an ego, if there is a right choice, it's your ability to choose the wrong thing that you don't want to get rid of, right? And that's every religious person and every atheist, every person. They don't want to give up control over their own choices. And so it's a spiritual person that learns to start giving up control and choosing the right thing instead of the thing that they want to do. And that's what being a spiritual person is. Until you start doing that and internalizing that, not looking for the 10 Commandments, right? You don't need the 10 Commandments to say, thou shalt not steal or thou shalt not kill or any of these things. You know what's right or wrong inside yourself, and you ask God, you have a relationship, and God says, nah, don't do that. Do this, right? That's what happens. You know your heart feels it. You're connected to the divinity within you. And from personal experience, it's a battle. It's not easy to do because there's things you want to do, and you don't want to give them up, right? And we all have them, and you know you're doing wrong, and you don't want to submit. You don't want to give up control to the divinity within you. Jesus, take the wheel, right? So none of this has to do with the devil. There's no external, devilish. I mean, that's just a silly thing to, it's just another straw man. Oh, the devil's going to get you. It's like a boogeyman, right? You worry about the devil within. Worry about the ego within that's willing to go against God's will in your soul's path, which is almost every person in the world. And then we become spiritual, then you have to start retraining yourself to submit yourself and surrender to the will of God. So there's something else that I want to say that's part of that, but there's another comment that deals with this. So this person says this. First of all, you are a fallen Catholic, adhering to a pagan religion. Well, what I do is spiritual, which I just explained, which you don't have a concept of. But let me go back. Let me read the comment first. First of all, you're a fallen Catholic adhering to a pagan religion. You should know better than to pump out criticism of the Passion of Christ. Jesus' sacrifice of blood, in capital letters, was made to open the gates of heaven. Like, yeah, okay. And how does that work? Like, what is how does blood open the gates of heaven? How does Jesus getting cut? Well, again, let me just read this. This is the basis of Christianity. Clearly, your apostatism has taken over. There's no such thing as reincarnation. Why? Because you say so. Our beliefs don't count, right? I said this before. Either there is reincarnation or there isn't. But it isn't your beliefs that make it so. This is what I'm talking about, flat Earth. You can't will the Earth to be flat if it's not, right? You can't will there to be no reincarnation. I've talked about this over and over again. There's no such thing as reincarnation. The point of the movie is to show the last horrific hours of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He shed his blood for love of us. Your judgment is so skewed, blinded by a satanic religion. I'm sickened by your ideas. Lead your life the way you want to, Paul. We all stand before the real God someday, and with you, it will be a one-way conversation. With me and God, like, this is the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm standing before God right fucking now, bro. That's the difference, right? You're waiting till you die after you've lived a shitty life and a life of self-delusion, and then you're going to feel like, because you've been given some promise by a bullshit religion that's using your divinity, your search for the divinity against you as a weapon to cultivate power and money and these things, and as a religion, where you can have a relationship with God right now. You don't have to stand before God when you die. Why would you wait till then? Why wouldn't you stand before God right now? But the person saying there's no reincarnation in this, and judging what I do without understanding it, is part and parcel to what I'm talking about. But what I really want to talk about with this in the last comment is that there's a different way of being right and having knowledge. And so I always had a good memory. Like, if I would just listen in class, I would be able to pass my classes. And that's all I cared about, right? And, part of me liked being right when so many people told me I was wrong in my pursuit. People in my own spiritual organization told me and my family, we were wrong for doing the homesteading thing, which turns out to be, I was right about that. And I was just following my spiritual path. And then other people in my life, and, just being a truther and being told constantly we're wrong by this, the whole mainstream system, all these things. And so some part of me liked being right and being able to be smarter or figuring things out and seeing things differently. And I liked that. Like, it was some kind of validation for me. And that disappeared, I don't know when. You people who've watched my videos could probably see that at some point I no longer cared about being right. And I no longer cared that was smart or I was, because, I didn't care about being right in tests. I didn't care about school. Like, I didn't care about knowing more than other people. I didn't use that as I wasn't competing with my fellow students. I didn't care if I got an A or a C or, I wanted to pass. I didn't want to have to take that fucking class again. But, there's a point when I went to college that I was just trying to do the bare minimum and get C's. My second attempt at college, I felt like I don't want to put any more energy and effort into things. And I purposely did poorly if I was getting an A. Like, it was stupid, but I did it, right? Because I didn't care about knowing more. We don't value intelligence, that movie Idiocracy, right? Where that anybody who's smart is called the derogatory for a gay man with the F word, right? Because you're smart, right? That's the Idiocracy world. I grew up and they called people who are smart nerds, right? Look at the nerd, or look at the brainiac, and these things. And so intelligence isn't valued in America. Other countries, sure, but here, not so much. It is valued by the powers that be that want to hire smart people and people who, are smart. But in terms of our social system, but it isn't given the value that it should. But now I put much more effort in something different, which is called divine ignorance. The second master of the system, Babaji, he was given some sort of like an operation or something when he was young, and they used ether as a anesthesia, and it destroyed like either part of his brain or his memory, and he couldn't remember things. And he became this spiritual giant, like he had a better spiritual life than anybody, bar none. I mean, that's the teachings of the system. And when he was asked a question, he didn't use his memory. Like, you can see that I have a good memory, but it's failing. Like, I'm older now, and I don't put as much effort into it, or I don't put as much emphasis on it because of this. Because I've learned to do this as well. Not like him, but this is a spiritual stage where he would go and connect to the Ethernet, and he would ask God directly, or ask the divine beings that are overseeing the planet and the universe. And he would connect with his soul too. That's another part of that, right? And so when he gave an answer, it wasn't out of memory. Like if somebody asks you a question, like your kid goes, what's that animal, Dad? And you're like, oh, that's a zebra. Because you have a picture of a zebra inside your mind, and you have the name of it, right? But as you get older, your memory fails. You start getting dementia or some things. And sometimes it's just your brain isn't working as well. And you're like, I know what that is, but I can't remember the name, right? Word retrieval is part of the, this guy who said that Joe Biden had Parkinson's, right? And so, tests, Trump said that he had been tested for cognitive decline, but the guy said, yeah, those are just bullshit tests. There's a 4-hour test you take, and they get into these things, and they can see how, word retrieval and how long it takes you to come up with words and things, right? And so you have knowledge. So somebody asks you a question, you have a memory, and you have a belief system, and you have an ego, and you have a persona, a personality, and you're able to decipher information, and you're able to come up with your own opinions and interpretations about things. And so people will be like, wow, you're really smart, or you're really good at this. And, I have some skills in this area. I have pattern recognition because I'm dyslexic, and I'm introverted. I've always been thoughtful, and, I've always, had a rich internal world and these things, right? I'm good imagination, and so I can, imagine what other people are doing or thinking, or, I've always been fascinated in what makes people tick, and I've had this ability. But none of those abilities that's something that you own or you possess, is as good as going directly to the source and asking God directly, right? The internet is great. I'm good at doing research. I'm good at finding things on the internet. I just have, natural abilities as a researcher. But the internet is nowhere near as good as the Ethernet. And so, like, if you become a person like this guy Babaji, in whatever capacity, the guy couldn't remember anything, right? Like that movie Memento, where the guy lost his long-term memory. and he's just going through his ability to access it, right? Great movie, interesting. And goes it starts at the end and goes to the beginning, right? If you've seen it, it's like genius. But losing something like that. And so one time Babaji was presented a book that he wrote. And he started reading it. And he said, "Oh, this is very good. Who wrote it?" And he said, well, the guy goes, "Look at the cover." And he said, "Ramchandra, that's his name." He said, "Was it me?" And when he wrote books, he went into a super consciousness state because he wasn't very well educated. And he just delivered a pristine, unadulterated message from the divine, right? And so his books were that. And so I now place so much more value on that. Things that are not mine to own. Because your consciousness and your mental state and your abilities, they're all temporary. And, those things help me do this job. And they are assets to what I do here. My personal characteristics, my personal, training, my lens in which I view the world. But then there's another level where divinity just comes through. And that's something that you just open up and it's retraining yourself to be that way. And that's not something that I could claim, oh, I was right, because God spoke through me, right? Because it has nothing to do with me other than allowing myself to be a conduit. Like, I can't say I was right. People say, oh, you were right about this, you were right about that. Yeah, well, that's only because divinity was coming through me. And that's something that everyone can learn to do on some level. Whatever way, each person's going to have a different way of interacting with God. You're going to have a specific way of doing it, and some people are going to be better than others, but the longer you do it, the better you get at it, right? The kingdom of heaven is within, the divinity is within you. And connecting to the divinity within you just puts you on a different level because you're limited as a person. God is infinite and you are finite. You're limited as a person to your own abilities and your own, sometimes your mind deceives you, or there's a level where your mind can't go just because it can't comprehend something. You just don't have the mental capacity. I mean, we all have things where somebody who's smarter in a different area is talking to us about something. It could be your mechanic, it could be your, the guy who does your taxes, it could be your, accountant, it could be your, your physician, you have a good doctor. And they have so much more training and they have so much more ability in that area that they're talking to you and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? Your mind just can't perceive or comprehend. You can watch a movie or something and it's just beyond your ability to understand what the person's talking about. And so, have you ever had a situation where you were scared of the answer? You're scared of the truth. Like, you don't want to ask the question. You don't want to pray to God to ask the question, right? Because you don't want the answer. You're in denial, right? Your spouse is cheating and you can't imagine what that would do, like if you had to confront that, right? Like, there's things that are going on and it should be obvious to you. Your kid is turning out horrible, is a horrible person, maybe even murderous or something like this, right? Something, really bad. And you can't see it. You just say, oh, Johnny's such a wonderful boy. And everyone else is like, your son just killed my cat. You're like, no, he didn't. It's Johnny. Johnny's wonderful. He was helping it, whatever. Where you don't want to hear something. You can't handle something. You can't handle the possibility of something. And so you wall it off. So this is what these Christians are doing. It's what the flat earthers are doing, right? It's something people do. And you can't go to God and hear the truth. You don't want the answer. So you don't want a relationship with God because you want an answer. And so this is what I'm talking about, right? Allowing divinity to come through you and the cold, hard truth that nobody really wants and nobody can really accept because they want it to be something that aligns with their belief system and who they are and their construct of the world. And they're holding on so tightly to this, to their ego's vision of reality, their personal lens that they created. Anything that distorts that lens or tells them that they're wrong, they just melt down and they flip out, right? In the highest state of being, you ask God. Like, there's people would come and ask Babaji a question, and he would go and consult with, the divine hierarchy, the team of beings, and they would tell him. He would just open up and he would let the answer come out. And then the person would be like, well, I don't understand the answer. And Babaji wouldn't explain it to him. He would go back and connect to divinity and allow the answer to that question to come out, right? And meanwhile, he's not retaining any of it, because he was his state of just everything was coming from the divine source. He had minimized his ego to such an extent that everything was coming through the divinity within him. And so feeling good about being right is, an egotistical thing. But really being right is where you allow the divine truth to flow through you, and you accept it for yourself, and you deliver it to others. And that's the truth seeker. And so all this stuff I'm saying about the Bible comes from that relationship with the divinity I have within me and my experience of being on the spiritual path. And it's a choice. Doesn't make me great. It makes me, it's good that I made that choice. But once you've made that choice, life becomes a lot harder in some ways and a lot easier in others, right? But it's, a battle with your ego until your ego is tamed, until your ego has been, surrenders to the divinity within. And so all this, biblical bullshit that you believe is a part of your own personal indoctrination, and you're not being able to accept the truth, right? And the higher you go on the spiritual field, the less other people know what the fuck you're talking about. And so people who are close to your level can have some effect on you because you can understand what they're talking about. But people who are beyond that, and the farther I go in that direction, the less, viewers I have, right? The less people that will come to listen to these things because they don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about, right? Because they're not, and that's the unfortunate thing, to where you can evolve your way out of having any kind of an audience. And that happens to, everybody on an artistic level. You have these, pop singers who sing shitty little, songs that appeal to the masses. And then they become more sophisticated, and they develop as a musician and as a person, and then their music falls on deaf ears, right? Their music is evolved, but the audience hasn't. Anyways, let me wrap this up here, and then I want to get into the Trump stuff. It's going to be one of the longer videos. So there's 2 more comments here. There was one where the person says, I always find it rich when Paulie calls someone else strange or weird. And so they're implying that I'm both strange and weird. That when I saw it, I got a chuckle out of it. And then this person writes this. If I recall, Paul, you were saying that the USA was going out of business, which is spot on. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate this. And there's a bot comment that says, you are correct, and yes, it was, and very welcome. But I was talking about this, and I didn't remember what I said. This is an example of that. And then I got this comment. I'm like, good, I'm glad somebody said that. The U.S. was going out of business. The person was going to be in charge of the going out of business sale, which Joe Biden was, and now Trump is, right? This is the USA is going out of business. And I put it in this way that I was happy with. And then now I'm glad that person reminded me. So let's get into the Trump stuff here. I thought I had some more comments that I had picked up on from a bot. Let me see if it's somewhere else here. Okay, so it was the first comment I read. I forgot to read the bottom part. I noticed that ads during the video, I noticed that ads during the video this time. I was wondering if your settings were not allowing them during the video or something, so I think it's positive to see more. Thank you. And the bot said, it's all about the algorithm. And then in the second comment, I put a lot of ads on my video, so good for you for watching. Which YouTube does not want you to tell your viewers to watch the ads. Let the ads play. Like they have a whole thing about that. So the comment was telling me to do something that YouTube doesn't want me to say, right? So I thought that was interesting. And them saying I put a lot of ads on my video, the settings are, you can run ads whenever. There's different settings, right? But I don't put the ads in. YouTube chooses when or not to put them in, right? And so both of those things, coming from a YouTube bot, like the YouTube bot is not aligned itself with YouTube rules or YouTube as their propaganda and their bullshit. we've already seen them call out YouTube and, in different ways, which is interesting. All right, so let's get into the Trump stuff here. Okay, so I had one more thing to add here to the to what I was saying before. I just want to reread this one comment, then we're going to get into the Trump stuff. And so this person writes here. I have to make this bigger. First of all, you are fallen Catholics adhering to a pagan religion. Now, the stuff from India is not pagan, right? Calling everything that's not Christianity pagan is, again, the other person wrote the comment saying they know more about Christianity than I do. How many Christians have come to me and tried to define what I do and not get anywhere close to that, right? What I'm doing is what Jesus did. What you're doing is what the twisted, power-hungry, greedy motherfuckers that took over Christianity want you to do so they can control you. So I'm more aligned with what Jesus did because I'm doing something that he did, right? Which is connected to divinity within him. There's, a saying from the famous Indian saint Swami Vivekananda that a religion is a great thing to be born into, but a horrible thing to die in. And so you're born into a religion, and the religion teaches you basic, when you're a kid, basic fundamental morals and ethics and teaches you about God. But then at some point you transcend your religion and you become a spiritual person. That's what that quote means, right? And so Jesus transcended his religion, which is what I did. I was born a Catholic, and the Catholic religion was good for me. The prayer meetings, my mom, the stuff that, the teachings. But then I transcended it when I turned 29, and I became a spiritual person, where you have a direct relationship with God. The religion's good to be born into, and then you transcend it. And that's, Jesus' example. That's one of the people, this was an example of doing that, right? First of all, you are a fallen Catholic adhering to a pagan religion. You should know better than to pump out criticism of the passion of Christ. Jesus sacrificed of blood. It made the gates open to heaven. This is the basis of Christianity. Clearly, your apostatism has taken over. There's no such thing as reincarnation. The point of the movie is to show the horrific hours of our Lord Savior, Jesus Christ. He shed his blood for the love of us. Your judgment is so skewed, blinded by a satanic religion. See, you have to say shit like that to me. I'm not saying your thing is satanic because, it's whatever it is. It's a religious cult, and it isn't godly. You can make it godly by being a good Christian and connecting to Jesus directly. And what I say would enhance your relationship, connecting with him outside of your religion. And I'm not saying you should do that or not, because I don't know what your capacity is, right? But calling my thing satanic when you know nothing about it. Everything that you do, everything that's not what you do is satanic. You've been indoctrinated with that. And so this is your indoctrination speaking, right? This is when you're indoctrinated by something, and anything anybody says about anything that has to do with your religion is satanic. That's how they've warped your mind, that anything that would criticize their power and control is satanic. It's the same thing with Trumpers and flat earthers and Cubies and vegans and anybody who says anything against their belief system is a shill or a piece of shit, right? And so, it's important to understand this. Your judgment is skewed by your satanic religion. I'm sickened by your ideas. Lead your life the way you want, Paul. We will all stand before the God someday, and with you, it will be a one-way conversation, which is I'll be talking to God and telling God what's up. But like I said, my thing, I've connected to God already. I don't have to wait till I'm dead, which is the superior situation, right? You're banking on a promise by a bunch of people who have shown over and over again they're power control people that actually are horrible, right? And have done horrible things throughout the religious history. And so what I want to add to this is whenever you have an emotional reaction to something, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like that's what I'm saying about all these things. And I'm going to talk about this with the Trump stuff in a moment. Well, I'll talk about right now, getting into the Trump stuff. If Trump made America great again, I'd be happy. I mean, why wouldn't I be? Like I'm an American and, if this was something where America could be saved, I'd be happy to be wrong, despite the teachings of my organization and things like that, which would go against that. But why would I be unhappy with that if America was flourishing in some way? But America has never flourished in a spiritual way. And so there would never be that element because Trump isn't a spiritual person. There's not going to be a spiritual renaissance. He's not a godly person. And his movement isn't about God. It's about money. He's a money person. He's a power person. He's a control person. And so America will reflect that. And so if America does better economically for some period of time, that isn't making America great again because we've had a spiritual deficit. And so America can't be made great again as long as we have spiritual, issues. So, being right or wrong doesn't matter to me. What matters is seeing what is and then doing what I have to do accordingly. And that's all we have as people. We interpret the data around us and then we make our personal decisions. I was listening to Trump some of his, the things he's doing. He's signing some things, executive orders, and I'll get into these things when we get into it, when I show you it. Only a couple of them are going to affect me, right, personally. But I don't know. We know whether they're good or bad. Time will tell. But overall, America is falling, right? And that's just the reality of it. And we can accept it. We can deny it. We can, be pissed about it. We can be scared. But it's happening, right? There are things that are going to happen in your life, including your own death, and they're inevitable. And being grateful is the only path. The only divine path is accepting things with gratitude. And anything other than that is a fail. And this is what I'm talking about here. So this person stumbled across my, I'm going to release a video today that actually addresses this. I talk about what if my interaction with Jesus in my dream was real and Jesus was sending Christians to me for a reason. So that's going to be followed up. That video is going to already be up. This video won't be up till Thursday, but that video will be up today on Tuesday when I'm making this video. And so, that adheres to some of those things. I mean, it answers some of these questions, like, what if that is real? And why are you so upset? Like, what I believe obviously upset you. And if you were secure in your own beliefs, and you were secure in your own path to heaven, you wouldn't be upset with it. You would just know. But you don't know because you don't have a relationship with God. You're taking somebody else's word for it, a corrupt organization that's filled with bad decisions, lies, and things that are clearly not divine. And so, when you understand the nature of your organization and the powerful aspect of religion. And I just want to add one more thing here with the this devil creature. Putting the devil in as an impression. When you watch things, they form an impression. And these are indelible impressions of Jesus being tortured and things, very graphic things. They affect your spiritual condition. They're very gross. They affect you in some way. They cause some scars or impressions, and it blocks your ability to feel God. You feel gross. You feel icky. Sensationalistic things. And then having this strong impression of the devil, which is being done here, is a part of that, right? And so the whole thing is very icky. Like this whole Passion of Christ thing, it's icky for that reason, because it's not subtle, it's not godly, it's not divine. And Mel Gibson you can see by the way he talks in the interview with Joe Rogan, he tries to make things really big. He reminds me of my brother, right? When he talks, these explosive kind of, using a lot of emotion, and he talks in a way that, he says things in a, like a dramatic, trying to very, gross and stimulating way. Like that's how he views life. He needs a lot of excitement. He admits to being an alcoholic and having addiction issues, right? And that's why he needed this thing to be so graphic in his movies, so violent, so these things, which are it doesn't need to be like that. It causes impressions. It's gross, and it's it's ungodly. God is subtle. All right, let's get into the Trump stuff here. Okay, so let's start here. I just saw the beginning of this, and I want to talk about something he says in the beginning. This is his inauguration speech. He gives a spicier speech, I assume, at the parade. And that's the one I'm going to cover because I saw that one. That one's great. Here's Joe Biden coughing. I got one more Joe Biden thing. There's Kamala Harris looking whatever she's doing. But Trump comes in and says this in the beginning here.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, justices of the
See if we can get through this part.
Put America First.
Okay, let's get to this part here. Here we go. I wasn't had it queued up.
Vice President Harris and my fellow citizens.
There's the Clintons. Hillary doesn't look so happy. Bill looks like he's on drugs here. That guy, Dougie Fresh, Jill Biden, Jilly Jill.
The golden age of America begins right now.
Woo. These guys aren't applauding. The Democrats don't agree with that. But I want to say something about that. The golden age has already passed. Because he said, let's make America great again. So if America was great, that was the golden age. Even in the very essence of MAGA is that America was great, it's no longer great, and we got to make it again. And so the best this could be is a remission or a renaissance. Because when America was great, according to Trump, and economically, I mean, the golden age, you would say was somewhere after the Depression, through World War II, and into the tech boom, and where we are now. So sometime after the tech boom, America ceased to be great. Liberalism took over America. This is Trump's worldview and the people who follow him. But America's greatness is the number one military, number one economy. The American empire is crumbling. And you could say there could be a renaissance or a remission. It's like you've been diagnosed with cancer. You had your glory days, and you're becoming great again. And you're having a second act. But America's greatness is past. The golden age is past, right? But even if this was the original golden age, the golden age has to end. Like I'm saying, the golden age. So let's watch that again. This is an important thing that he says here. Because it's acknowledging that it isn't the golden age now. So what he's saying here is false, right? And Trumpers want to believe what Trumpers want to believe. And we'll get into that. That's what I talked about in the beginning of this video.
The age of America begins right now.
Let's go back a little bit further here.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration.
It's great that Biden has to sit here, and of course Biden's half gone anyway, but him and Kamala have to sit here and listen to this shit. Because he's taking a total crap on them.
I will very simply put America first.
Implying they didn't. Woo! Woo!
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
See, this is Trump's personal bullshit, and, it doesn't apply to him anymore. Like, that thing's done with. And it appears he's not letting it go. Like, first time he did let it go. The first, he was willing to let things go in the first, when he was president the first time. Doesn't look like he's going to let things go because he's doing executive orders that are about his specific treatment by the Justice Department, right? Which was true. It was skewed politically, but he also is a criminal. Like, he did do crimes.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free.
Okay, so I'm going to go. He talks more about the censorship. He's getting rid of censorship. He's signed other executive orders. One that they don't, that's being hammered by liberals, which is that there's only 2 genders. Like he signed an executive order about that. So there's all these things that are going to be up for some legal issues. I mean, he's already coming in strong in terms of the things he promised and the people he promised them to. They're not going to save America, but some of the things are going to help me. Some of the things might help you. I don't know. Some of the things might hurt me. I don't know, whatever, in terms of various things. But at least he's coming in and he's trying to fulfill his promises in ways he didn't before. He didn't try to do it in his last term. A lot of it was just political rhetoric. This time he seems more of on a vendetta because of the way that he feels like he was mistreated by these guys. And it's always going to be narcissism for any of these politicians. But the golden age thing, that's not a good sign because, like I said, the golden age has already occurred. And so it's a recognition that we're trying to save something that's already passed us by. That's the whole problem with Make America Great Again. You can't. Something was great once. Countries rebound and they have their bad eras. We rebounded from the Depression. But this is something different, right? Because the moral fabric of America has collapsed. The kids that are growing up today are depressed and, some of it's their responsibility, obviously, but most of it's the previous generations. These kids are depressed and they don't, they're addicted to the internet and they're not getting any kind of training character-wise or work ethic or any of these things. And so when this generation grows up, it's a lost generation. And then all the other people, like everyone's been down, everyone's gone to a lower level. People have collapsed, right, into idiocracy and being pathetic. Anyways, the golden age. So I didn't see the swearing in ceremony, right? But the other thing I saw was a parade. And so let's start here. Nancy Klobuchar's, what is she? Like, she doesn't have a position. She's a senator, like a senior senator. Bill Clinton is Biden's and Trump's age, and he looks worse for wear. I don't know who this woman in green is, but she's prominent for some reason. And then all the usual suspects.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Who's this dude? Who's this sheriff?
Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The
Who's this dude over here?
office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States
And will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend.
preserve,
This is the daughter he's attracted to. This is the one he's not.
protect, and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
Jill's getting squeezed out back here.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
She gave a nod, Kamala did there. See, watch Kamala, she's going to give a nod.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
He pointed to the judge. Hey, Joe, thank you. He said thank you. Thank you, Joe, for breaking down and having a mental breakdown. Boom. Ba-bum-ba-ba. Okay, get the guns going. She gave him a cheek. You want to give her a real kiss? She's got the hat on. The hat's crazy. We'll get to that in a bit. Who's that guy right there? He looks a little sus. What about this guy? Who's this guy? How'd he get in there? Looks a little unhappy. He's not as joyful as he would think he was. Should be. No smiles from Elon. I don't know if I've ever seen Elon laugh or smile. Talk about this guy in a bit. Like these guys. Okay, that's bullshit. Let's move forward here. Alright, it gets better here in a second. Some kind of a musical breaking out here. Some sort of gay choir here. Ba-ba. It's like a flash mob kind of thing. Look at him go. It's the next village people. Boom. There's no better song than Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. Got some chicks in there now. The strippers have showed up. Trump, the strippers have showed up. Poor camera angles. Failed some camera angles. CNN camera stuff failing. It's got their phone on. Well, Trump's like, oh, they brought the hookers. All right, let's move forward here. There's a lot of singing. All right, still going. Okay, I thought they were going to meet outside. All right. So that's that. That's a swearing-in ceremony. He posed with the Biden. See if I can find that next. And then I want to get into the parade. Okay. My brother used to have to set up for the fife and drum corps, which I believe this is what this is. He was a part of he worked for Parks and Rec. And he had to set up like different, chairs and events for people. And he used to call them the fief and dreamers. the fife and drum corps. But a lot of what America does, it seems a lot like sort of very gay pageantry. And these would be all dudes, but you know what? Dudes usually don't play the flute. There's a lot of instruments. I mean, they were playing all this stuff. We'll go through this here. But here we have these guys. Now, I thought these were the redcoats. We fought the redcoats, so I don't even understand the redcoats here. Why they're wearing redcoats? Because this was back when the American insurgents fought against the British Empire. There was an insurgency, right? And Americans won and gained liberation. America was born, and they fought against the redcoats. Now, I'm sure someone could give me some explanation. I don't want it because I could go look it up. But it's confusing to the people who know a little bit about this, people like me, right? And, I'm not impressed by parades or any of this stuff, right? I mean, it's just a waste of money. I don't think, how does this make you great? Make America gay again? Like this, this pageantry they put on. Dressing up like this bullshit, wearing these freaking wigs. The English do this. Bring this back to those English. They wear the wigs in their court system. It's weird. White wigs, like just... Look at them. You digging it? Who's this guy? This guy digs it. Look at this. Look at this woman doing this. She's doing it. Look at her doing the stuff. She's got her staff. They got their flutes. These guys are playing on their skin flutes. This guy's doing the staff. Look at him go. They got it down. Look at him. Look at that. Look at that shit. Look at that fancy handwork.
Present art. Attention. Present art.
This guy's hand in his coat. These guys are saluting. Look at the Trump. Look, he's mastering the salute. Look at those giant man hands on this dude. Bigger than Trump. She's definitely got bigger hands than Trump in terms of the length of her fingers. Trump's got those little sausage fingers. All right, so that was that. Let's go through more of this thing here. So let me just say this: I'm editing. There's a lot of outdated rules. There are a lot of outdated customs. There are a lot of outdated rituals. Some of them still have merit, but if you over generations forget about these things, and people evolve. I mean, people are de-evolving like we're an idiocracy, but we're more sophisticated in various ways, right? Because of our knowledge base and our technological development. And so a lot of these things are just things that people are clinging on to. If you want to dress up and play a Civil War or, LARPing or, any of this bullshit fife and drum corps and do these things, great. Like, it's not hurting anybody. It might have some value I don't know about. You might have a nice community. People have communities of people. I just don't want to have to pay for it tax-wise and or be forced to watch it, right? Like, it's not for me. And, this is like amateur night. We had this years and years ago when we used to go to these gatherings, not, 10 years ago, whatever, 2014 and earlier than that. When I go to the gatherings, they would have like sort of a talent show at the end, and kids would get up and do traditional Indian dances, and kids would put on plays, and some of the adults would sing Indian music. Sometimes it would be, Americans, and people would play songs that they wrote or something like that, right? And some of it was really good. Some of the people were really talented. I found it interesting. I usually was in a good mood because the gathering had this positive energy. But there was sort of this element like everybody gets a chance to get on stage. Just out of 500 people, as many as they possibly could wanted their 15 minutes of fame. Of course, this was pre the, social media the way it is now. But everybody wants to be seen and, go out there and do their thing. But these old traditional, bullshit kind of whatever they are, dressing up like you're in the 1800s and you're part of the Revolutionary War and, playing these songs that nobody wants to hear anymore, this kind of bullshit, right? So a lot of these things, there's got to be the question that nobody asks, why are we still doing this shit, right? Why are we still doing this shit? Like after so many years, why is this still a part of our life, right? Why do we still do these things that were done in the past? Do we know why they did them originally? Do we know why this was done originally? And do we still need to do those things, right? These marching bands are a big part of the college football and some of these other traditions. And, it's good to learn instruments. I mean, this has value if you're applying to college and things like this, high school and college. I mean, I have no problem with it, but like the music sucks, right? Like, we're so far beyond that kind of music. And parades, like, why are there still parades? Why are there? Like, why are there parades? Like, what's the purpose of parades at this point, right? You don't have anything better. I mean, decorations, great. I like decorations. I think everyone benefits. I look forward to seeing decorations. We do a little bit of stuff. I put up some rope lights. I put up some rope lights, this year. Bare minimum things. I don't do anything on the outside of the house, but I appreciate people who do that. It adds to it. Lights are wonderful. There are things that, that are good, and there are things, why are we still doing this shit? I mean, something people have to ask that question, especially when there's taxpayer dollars and other things at stake. But anyways, let's move on here. Okay, apparently this happened before, but it just popped up while I was going through this thing. It's more of the these blowing into their pipes, mouthpieces.
Does anybody want some cake?
Woo! Woo! I want cake!
Can you catch?
Can you catch me? That's how. Why are you cutting it with swords?
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Apparently he's going to dance with his sword here. dancing. He's dancing with this. Like, he's such a tool. You know, he's weird and awkward and not cool and elitist and pompous and all those things. And people just overlook it, which is great. Like, it's hilarious. Like, people are doing that dance, and she's doing it. Like, Melania. It'd be funny if he stabbed Melania by mistake. You know, not fatally, just enough to have her pissed off at her. Like, that'd bring up all the Stormy Daniels stuff again in their relationship. All right, so there he goes. He's really going for it. I think he had a few drinks. J.D. Vance is not such a dancer. Look at him wave his sword around. Oh, I got another thing going on in the background. That's another video. All right, pump your fist there, Trump. Do it, Trump. We'll go to the other thing in a second here. There they are. YMCA, he did the thing. So there's more of this bullshit here, right? This is all this pageantry. You know, it's these guys who go to war and are dodging bullets or, you know, whatever they're doing, right, are under the threat of death and living in difficult circumstances. It's not just the war itself. It's, you know, they're basically camping out in the worst places. My brother talked about his time in Vietnam where, you know, he said you'd be walking through the freaking jungle and there'd be like quicksand-like stuff and you stick your foot in the mud and your foot would came out of your boot and your boot was in 2 foot of mud. You had to go dig out your boot. And so one time one of his fellow soldiers lost his rifle in the mud and then they started to receive enemy fire and they were all yelling at this guy. He was like a newbie, not to fire his weapon because his barrel was loaded with mud, you know, stuff like that, right? Mosquitoes and, you know, just the hygiene and all that stuff, right? And, you know, they put out these, I mean, some of these guys don't even ever see, like, that kind of combat. And these guys, the Fife Dreamers, you know, this is just, like, it glorifies war in a way that it isn't, right?
Commanders, take charge of your units.
Boom, this guy's saluting. And then they're going out there. Somebody's coming in here. Let's see what else is here. So a lot of this music that nobody likes, right? You know, I had the joy of playing the clarinet. I wanted to play the saxophone, like we had to take an instrument in school. But my brother played the clarinet, so I got his old one. It was like 17 years old. You know, like my brother was 17 years older than me, so whatever, you know. And my brother was telling me he was playing, and if you had to have a little reed, it was like a little thin piece of wood that you had to change out because it would get wet. And he didn't have a reed, so he was just pretending to play. And his band, his band master, whatever, said, you never sounded better. Like nothing was coming out. So look at this guy. These guys playing their clarinets. It's just, I mean, does anybody like this kind of music? Look at these guys playing their frickin' oboes right here. This guy playing his oboe, sucking on his oboe here. Like, fucking, leave your oboe alone, bro. Bro, stop playing your frickin' oboe. Look at this guy. He's getting into it. Look at these guys go. Look at this kid. Look at this guy. This guy got the trombones. This is wonderful, right? This guy here's got the saxophone that he's rocking out. Look at him go. Look at go, bro. You got it. Look at this. This guy's conducting the shit out of this thing. This guy's playing his flute. Look at him play his flute. He's a flautist. He likes that flute. This guy over here playing. Look at this thing. Look at this motherfucker. Look at that. I don't even know what that instrument is. Is that a saxophone? It's a black saxophone, I think. It's got a French horn over there. I mean, wonderful. Look at him. Just Amazing music. Listen to this. Bum, ba, ba, ba. Oh, it's just who could resist this type of band? God bless America. My home sweet home. Where happened to the oboe players? This guy playing his oboe down here. Guy playing the French horn. They're doing it. Look at them do it. They're just frickin' doing it. But they're gonna make. Look at this guy making America great again with his porn stash. They faded to. Look at that how they're fading out here. CNBC. So there was this thing that happened. So he ends up in the Capital One arena. Doesn't this look like some kind of should be a villain from Mortal Kombat? Finish him. And so look at that dude walk. She's a professional walker. USA. USA. Look at him do. Look at him do the dance. He's doing his dance there. The Trump. Boom, they're cheering for him. They're loving him. Woo! They're coming in here. The Vance is up here. This is the thing. This is the same thing. The same band. Look at them go. Look at them frickin' go, those guys. That's the official. That's some kind of official band. Playing the shit out of it. Trump doing his dance over here. Look at these guys coming in. Citizen leaders. Those guys. Those fucking guys, man. Those, when they show up, you know it's reals. You know the things keep... You can tell that I don't ever understand this stuff. I don't get it. Like, I've never gotten this stuff. I never... Like, we had these pep rallies and all this kind of bullshit people do and all these ceremonial, ritualistic things they do. We'll get into Barron Trump in a bit here. Towering over those people. He's like freaking... Look at these guys. When these guys show up, these flag bearers, you know it's serious.
Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, July 13th, 2024.
The Butler, Pennsylvania guys that were there for that fake, assassination attempt. Look at this little teddy bear. This guy's rocking his teddy bear over here. He's over here because he's had enough of it. All the Trumpers back here. Trump family. This guy, I don't know who he is, like some kind of little troll over there. Look at him go. Look at these motherfuckers go. Look at Trump clapping. It's coming up here. It's got to reboot. Look at these guys saluting the shit out of it. They're mastering it. Look at him clap. They're saluting. You're clapping. I don't think that's the way it's supposed to go. You're the commander-in-chief. They just saluted you, and you let them hang in. Here's some guys. Here. Look at these motherfuckers. Look at them go. Look what they get. They're Scottish, wearing green. Look at them go. You got those fucking bagpipes. Is there a better instrument than the bagpipe? NYPD. Look at them go. Look at them beat their drums. Look at that guy beating the drums there. The green powder puff. Look at that. Look at that guy twirling his fucking drumstick. Holy shit. How long do you have to practice that? I mean, it took years to master that shit. And they got other ones here. Look at these guys. What's this guy? What are these hookers? The hookers are here.
And look at this. Here's one that hits close to home for our vice president. We now welcome the Middletown High School Marching Band and cheerleaders.
Boom. They're from Ohio.
Middletown, Ohio, to proudly represent their school.
Look at this. He's so proud. These are my Middletown folk.
Vice President of the United States.
Look at them go. Look at those Middletowners. What else we got here?
And Europe. Today, they are wearing their most notable uniforms. What a great photo opportunity. Consisting of the Glengarry headgear and kilts.
The Glengarry headgear. Look at the Glengarry. More fucking bagpipes. You can't have enough bagpipes. Look at them go. Look at them. Look at these. Look at this guy. This guy's been working out. Look at her go. Look at her go higher than everyone else. She's like, look at me. Look at me spin my freaking drumstick. We're the best. Here's what else we got here. More of this shit, right? Another one. Look at these guys. Look at these two. This is a wonderful parade. Get everybody. Look at them. is an HBCU. This is when I started watching it. And the guy was talking about, some guy was like, yeah, I used to play the trombone or trumpet, and these guys are the best. My school sucked. Look at Trump. Go back and forth. He's totally digging it. He loves this kind of music. It's the Devils. The dude's rocking a Devils shirt here. The school's mascot is the Devil. That's why Trump invited him. Look at those frickin' tubas. And they had different speakers.
It's an honor to stand before you today.
I'm gonna go back. I haven't seen the Musk speech. Laura Trump, something's wrong with her eye. I don't know what it is. It's whether it's just makeup failure or whatever. This is the forgotten son.
Reflect on the enormity of the role.
Okay, so they introduced the family. Did that already happen? Let's see when that happens. Here we go. Is this it here? That's the best part for. Oh, these guys all have hostages. These are people who have hostages in Israel. This is here. Look at Trump. Look at that smug fuck.
Been in Gaza for the last year and a half. There are many of them here today. Several of the families have lost children and loved ones, and they're here because they're part of an effort to
wipe out the Palestinian people. They're part of an effort to annex Palestine, and so Trump comes up to. They introduce his family. I find that part. So he starts off with this guy here.
Need stiffs. We don't need stiffs. We got a lot of stiffs. You just had a whole load of them.
I just had a whole load of stiffs. Trump's ragging on the stiffs, and then they get into some of these other people here. Let's. I think he starts off with Melania. There's a circle of internet sucking today. Some kind of cold weather thing, possibly. But anyways, he gets into the stiffs thing.
Let us also thank the incredible service members, National Guardsmen, Police, Secret Service, and law enforcement personnel who are keeping us all safe.
Woo.
Even though they are great people.
They're great. They're wonderful
New York's
people.
finest.
Unbelievable.
I grew up with New York's finest, and
He did. He grew up with New
we
York's
got to
finest.
give them their authority back. You won't have any crime. There'll be no crime. You give them little authority back.
Yeah, just the crime will be gone. Crime, like there's going to be zero crime in the golden age. Crime is going to disappear. Criminals are going to cease to do crime, just because she said so.
The whole way they run things in this country now, it's disgraceful. But it's
Disgraceful.
going to change rapidly. We're going to
He
make
really takes a giant shit all over. I got the Morning Joe from this morning. Today's Tuesday, whatever it is, 21st. I got Morning Joe, and they're bummed. And there's a couple of things that they were going off on, but the difference between the various lenses in which people see America. But they have it down to 2, right? And we'll get into that on my next video. But they're upset. So it's this dude over here. This dude's not loving life.
our city safe again, too. Even though we're indoors, we've had a magnificent inaugural parade. And let's give a big round of applause. They were great. To all of the incredible performers and hardworking men and women
Those bands.
who made it possible. Those
Boom. Yes.
people.
USA. Nothing says it like that.
Really
USA.
talented, amazing people. I also want to thank my wonderful family for being here, especially my beautiful wife, our First Lady, Melania.
Melania. Look at that hat. Look at that fucking hat. It's like a Billy Jack. Look at that giant mitt right there. Look at Melania stand up. Stand up, Melania. She hasn't forgiven him for the Stormy Daniels
And
thing.
also, JD. How good is JD?
JD's the best. I
And
mean,
his
he's so
beautiful
good.
wife, Usha.
Unfucking believable. That guy,
How
he's not
good
weird
is
at all,
JB?
despite what they were saying.
JD has been great.
He's great. Thumbs
He's
up,
another
JD.
good negotiator, Steve. He's a great negotiator, too. We need negotiators in this country. But so many of the people on the stage behind, not only family members, as an example, Lara Trump, the wife of Eric, She was the head of the Republican Party, along with my friend Michael. Stand up. The two
Oh,
of
see,
you.
they got Lord
what
Trump.
a job. What a job.
There's something wrong with her eye. Is that always like that? Like her eye is fucked
so
up
hard. They knew there'd be rigging, but they said we're going to make it too big to rig, and we did. We made
here. Yes,
it too
this
big
guy.
to rig.
This guy's in charge of the too big to rig.
We won every swing state by a lot. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won.
See, this is a good speech because he's already given the official speech in front of the Democrats, but he's a little bit salty because Biden just pardoned people while he was giving that speech. He's going to talk about that in a moment. So he's going to go fucking all in here, which is kind of hilarious. It's like totally not present. This is the stuff I like because it's real. And, the Morning Joe were so upset that he's trashing other politicians and all that, right? And, Trump sucks and he is whatever he is. But he's authentic to who he is. He lies, and that's part of his authenticity. What? He lies, and let's try this again. He lies, but that's part of his authenticity. What you've heard? My word retrieval. And so, but this is like real stuff. This is how they really are. All this pageantry is just fake shit, right? It's a miserable town with miserable people, deception. It's like a hellish environment. Politics is so destructive, and there's so much drama and so much narcissism and so much all of it. Manipulation. I mean, all these political cities, especially the big one, Washington, D.C., the number one political city in the world, and, all of the things that go with it.
The whole ball of wax. And now we're going to go and drill, baby, drill, and do all the things that we've wanted to do and bring your costs down, your prices down,
Woo!
And make our country safe.
Fuck the environment. Let's drill let's get rid of as many endangered species as possible. Woo!
So thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much. What a job you've done, Michael. I'm never moving you, He was thinking about getting a nice job in the administration. I said, no, I'm leaving you right where you are. You've done a very good job. We're not moving you, Michael. I'm
sorry, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. No job for Michael.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Right here with us also in the arena, I'm about to sign some very important executive orders of our new administration.
Woo!
Hey, Don, will you stand up, please? Don is another one. How about Don?
Fucking Don. Don is the most unlikable Trump. Fucking Donnie. Donnie. Whoa, you take it, Donnie. When she was on The Apprentice, he was so unlikable. He's like Trump. He's like Donald without he's like his dad without the charisma. Just the shitty parts.
He's a popular one. He goes out and speaks. He gets a big crowd. He's a little on the rough side sometimes, but that's what you want. He's done a fantastic job, and he loves our country. Thanks, Don. Great job. You've done a great job. And Ivanka.
Where's that dude? Look at what's happened to Ivanka. Serious plastic surgery, or what's happened?
And Jared negotiated.
There's this one here, this is the one he's attracted to. This is the one he isn't.
The Abraham Accords, which are it's the biggest deal made in the Middle East in many, many years, and it's really.
Look at this guy.
Jared, stand up, Jared.
Yeah. He bought 666 Park Avenue. Remember that? Look at this. Look at these devil gloves. Who's this? Who's sitting behind him? Who the hell is that dressed in the red dress?
And Tiffany's going to have a little baby.
Woo, Tiffany.
And Michael.
Where is she? There she is. Oh, they got her. She's pregnant.
And then I have a very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Barron. Listen, they love Barron. Look at this cartoon. He looks like grew before he grew from the Despicable Me. Look at him. Holy shit. He's pale like some kind of cartoonish vampire. Playing around, giving the thumbs up. He looks like a mini Trump. Look at it. Yeah. Let me hear it. Boom. Milking the crowd. Why would you name your kid Barron, right? We need more of Barron.
Thank you.
Let's hear Barron speak. I want to hear Barron speak.
He knew the youth vote. You know, we won the youth vote by 36 points. And he was saying, Dad, you got to go out and do this one and that one. And we did a lot of them. And he respects them all. He understood them very well. And
Trump did a lot of men because of Barron.
he said, Dad, you got to go out, do Joe Rogan, do all these guys. And we did.
He did them. He did Joe Rogan.
We did. And Joe Rogan was great. They were all great, right, Barron? They were all good. He understood the market. Another famous one. How about Kai? Stand up, Kai.
Kai. That stiff autistic granddaughter with the podcast.
Is that Byron Donalds back there? Stand up, Byron.
Byron.
Stand up. What a future this one has.
What do you mean by this one? Boom. Give him a point.
What
Byron,
a
point at
future.
Trump. Byron and Barron, the unstoppable force.
That's great, Byron. Thank you very much. And how about Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce? He's
Fucking
gonna take
Lutnick.
in more money than
Lutnick.
any country has ever even thought about.
He's going to have more money than lives with the red frickin' gloves by a devil fucking worshiper over there. Wonder what
He's gonna
nationality
take in some
Lutnick
money.
is.
And we have many others. Look, I'm not going to go through it, but we're going to sign some orders right now, and that's really what I want to do. So we're going to sign executive orders. First, I'll revoke nearly 80 destructive and radical executive actions of the previous administration. One of the
He's getting rid of, right off the bat, he's getting rid of 80 of Biden's. He's like erasing his presidency. He's getting rid of 80 executive orders.
worst administrations in history. Maybe not one of them, the worst. Anybody that would allow millions of people to pour through our borders from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, gang members to be taken off the streets of Venezuela and deposited in our country, and many, not just Venezuela. You know, crime in Venezuela is down 74%.
Boom. You know why? All the criminals are here.
Because they took their criminals and gave them to us.
Oh, fuck. What a shitty deal that is. Like, look at this lady.
Through an
She knows.
open border
Yep, that's what
policy
happened.
of the previous
That's what happened. I saw it. I saw it on the news.
administration.
Boo.
All over the world, they're emptying their prisons into our country. They're emptying their mental institutions into our country.
Just empty them. They just take the whole fucking institution and empty it right into frickin' Texas or wherever it is. Saskatchewan. No, that's Canada.
It stops as of 1 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, it stops.
Boom. Trump is bringing in frickin' his frontier justice. What's happening, bro?
So I'm revoking nearly 80 destructive, radical executive actions of the previous administration. They'll all be null and void within about, 5 minutes?
Yeah, they're definitely going to be dull and void.
Is that them over there? 5 minutes?
Boom.
And next, to gain immediate control of the vast federal, out-of-control bureaucracy, I will implement an immediate regulation freeze, which will stop Biden bureaucrats from continuing to regulate. Most of those bureaucrats are being fired. They're gone.
Boom. We're firing those fucking guys. Get rid of them all.
Should be all of them, but some sneak through, but we have to live with a couple, I guess.
We have to have a couple of snakes in our midst.
I'll also issue a temporary hiring freeze to ensure that we're only hiring competent people who are faithful to the American public. And we will pause the hiring of any new IRS agents. We will also require that
Boom. Laying down the law on the IRS.
all workers must return to the office in person. And we're going to take the 88,000 people that they hired to go after you with guns. By the way, they're allowed to use guns and harass you like they were so many other people. Remember this. Okay, remember? Do you remember a little statement about tips? Does anybody remember that little statement?
Tips. I remember you said something about not taxing tips.
I think we won Nevada because of that statement. But they went out and harassed you over the tips. In other words, we are restoring control of our government to the people. We're going to take those 88,000. Let's see if they'd like to work on the border, because that's where we want them, really.
Boom. Take those IRS agents and put them on the border. That's what Trump's doing. One little swipe of his pen, that's happening. Woo!
So we're going to have no tax on tips, right?
No tax on tips for Trump. Boom. Delivered. Promised delivered on.
And we may have, like the Speaker of the House, is he here? He's done such a good job. Is Mike here? He's around here someplace. I saw him just a little while ago.
We're going to give him a seat on the dais. We got these grandkids to take care of.
Oh, fellas, look at you guys. Yeah, I know it. He's great. He's doing great. They're all doing good. The Republican Party has never been unified like it is right now. They want to save our country. And we're going to more than save it. We're going to make it greater than it's ever been before by
Boom.
a lot.
By a lot.
Next, I'm going to sign a presidential memorandum directing every member of my cabinet to marshal every power at their disposal to defeat inflation and rapidly bring down the cost of daily life, because your costs have gone through the roof in the last 4 years. Perhaps you didn't notice. Does anyone notice their costs are like double, triple, quadruple? You can't buy bacon.
Exactly. Bacon's like, nobody can afford fucking bacon anymore.
Apples have doubled in price.
Apples. I mean, who can afford an apple?
Apple, anybody? Pay twice what you did 2 years ago.
I mean, an Apple computer's like cheaper than a regular Apple.
Put more money in your pocket, and we'll bring back the American dream and to reduce energy costs and liberate our economy. So we have more oil and gas than any country in the world.
We just do. We have tons of it.
We're going to use it. We're not going to do the wind thing.
Look at these guys. These guys got teeth.
Ugly windmills, they ruin your neighborhood. They ruin you. If you have a house that's near a windmill, guess what? Your house is worth less than half.
You got those big ass windmills. They just suck the value out of your property. They just spin the value right out of your property. Okay, I just want to say one more thing before we continue here. There's God's will and a divine plan. And some of that can change. Some of it can be, by a higher developed soul that reads whatever needs to happen. And, this is why people have consciousness, souls have consciousness. And there are beings that are in a closer proximity to God who can understand what needs to happen and oversee such things, right? But if things need to happen, a planet has an evolution. Human beings have you have a story. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And so whatever has to happen on this planet and whatever has to happen for you personally, there are things you can't avoid. Death being one of them, and then a lot of other things as well, right, that are just part of your life. If you're an addict, it'll be something like that. If you have bad marriage, some scars, whatever, you have these things, right, that you have to endure. And whatever's going to happen with America is already, it's already slated. And Trump is going to do whatever Trump does. But there are a lot of people who have wishful thinking around Trump. A lot of people who have dread, they dread what Trump is going to do. And, neither one of them is correct in the sense that, and I'm going to get into this when I cover the MSNBC Morning Joe stuff. And so, Trump is a very flawed, weird, elitist piece of shit, right? And he's got he's entertaining. He's a great entertainer. He's great at working the crowd. And he's established himself. This is very successful, what he's done as a politician. But remember, he's a politician. Like, now he's a successful politician. He's been a politician now for over 9 years, and it'll be 12 by the time he's done with his term. And he's found his niche in Washington, D.C. And, he knows how to say things to make the crowd excited and to to give his base what they want. And yet the people who are Trump's base are not people who would understand how to fix things. I mean, they are reacting to, they're just very reactionary people. Right-wing Republicans and far-left liberals, people who aren't in the middle, are much more reactionary and want big things to be done to what they see the problem as. And then they want immediate results that don't come. They have delusional thinking about the results, and they'll keep on rearranging reality like the Cubies did, keep on moving the goalposts until they won't, until they can't anymore, and then they'll turn on Trump because that's what people like that always do.
And did you see up in New England with the whales? You see what's happening? So they had 2 whales killed in about 14 years. Last year and the year before, total, they had 28. So if you're into whales, you don't want windmills either.
Windmills are killing whales?
They're the most expensive
Fuck
form
those windmills.
of energy that you can have by far. And they're all made in China, by the way.
Oh, fuck. That's all you had to say. They're made in China? That's one of the few things we know that's made in China that we use on a daily basis.
All of them.
I mean, let's everyone throw away everything you own that's made by China. Let's do it right now.
And they kill your birds and they ruin your beautiful landscapes. But other than that, I think they're quite good, right?
Boom.
Now, remember when we used to joke and kid when we were kidding, but we don't kid anymore?
We don't kid anymore. We used to kid, now we don't, because now we're pissed and vengeful, and we're mad at the way they treated me the last 4 years. And so I'm not kidding anymore. I'm going for blood.
They want to watch the debates on television. They want to watch your favorite president on television. But the wind isn't blowing, so we can't watch television that night, Gladys. Remember?
Gladys,
I'm sorry, the wind is just not blowing. We're not watching Trump tonight. But I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff.
Woo! Woo!
The United States will not sabotage our own industries while China pollutes with impunity.
What's that girl's name? I'm talking about like you could answer me. The Swedish girl. I can't believe I can't remember her name. But all those people in Europe are not happy right now. Greta. Have you talked to Greta? Greta's upset now.
But China, I mean, look, they use a lot of dirty energy.
But let's check in and see what Greta says about. I wonder if she said anything about Trump withdrawing from the Paris Accord.
How dare you?
You just got Greta rolled.
Okay, so I couldn't find anything about Greta, so I did the Greta roll. The Rick roll, the Greta getting Greta roll. Greta.
But they produce a lot of energy. And when that stuff goes up in the air, it doesn't stay there. It's not like you got a wall. We love walls, don't we?
Yeah, we love those
like you have
fucking walls. More walls.
Wall around, and it doesn't. It floats into the United States of America. After
No way. We're getting Chinese pollution. Why aren't you doing something about that, Trump?
3.5 to 5.5 days, it floats across the oceans, and it comes right over your neighborhood, and it falls into your neighborhood.
No way. Fuck those Chinese. What's going on? Well, I mean, they're polluting us all the time, right in our neighborhoods.
So they all say, we have to fight for cleaner air, but the other dirty air is dropping all over us, so what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, what are they talking about, liars?
Unless everybody does it, it just doesn't work. We had the cleanest air and the cleanest...
Because there's no merit to, I don't know, controlling what we can control. There's no merit to reducing the pollution to some extent, right? Like let's all pollute as much as possible because if one guy's doing it, I mean, it's just like if one person's releasing nuclear weapons, we all should, right? Because it's not fair if we can't do it.
Cleanest water that this country's ever had under the Trump administration, and we didn't do anything to stop jobs and stop production. Believe me, you're going to see a lot of companies come pouring back because tariffs. I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
It's such a beautiful fucking word, Trump.
Then I was reprimanded by the fake news. They said, what about love, religion, and God? I said, I agree. Let's put God number one. Let's put religion number two. Love, I don't know. We got to put that number three, I guess, right?
Yeah, love should definitely be number 3.
And then it's tariff.
Tariff is definitely number 4. I mean, I don't know. Might have to God and religion and love, and then tariffs, religion.
Tariffs are going to make us
You can get rid of religion because that shouldn't be up there. Religion sucks.
rich as hell.
That's why, you're separating God from religion, right? If religion brought you God, then you'd only need one of the two. You don't need both of them, but they're two separate things.
Bring our country's businesses back that left us. And I'll also sign an executive order to immediately end federal government censorship of the American people in America.
Boom.
We believe in free speech, and we're bringing it back starting today.
So that's the thing that's going to help us here. And it's, the censorship that's happening and the pressure that was put on these social media platforms. YouTube and Google are late to the table. I mean, Facebook and X are much better already. And then, all the related, I don't know about TikTok, but, Facebook, YouTube and Google are still, I mean, they're better, but I don't know how much better because I haven't seen but definitely there hasn't been as much scrutiny as before, but still it's a little bit tighter here.
To stop the weaponization. Oh, do I know about that? These creeps. Deranged Jack Smith. You ever hear of him? Deranged.
No, who is he? Tell us about this guy.
He's a deranged.
Why is he deranged?
Prosecutor is sick. They suck him on me. He's now been reduced to getting on an airplane, going back to The Hague or wherever the hell he came from. We got
Did Biden pardon him? It sounds like you're going to target the guy.
Get rid of that guy. Hey, was he one of the many
president just said we got to get rid of that guy?
people that got a pardon today? Did they pardon Jack Smith? Did you know that Biden, while I was making my speech, pardoned his whole family?
Ooh. Partner, fucking partner.
The brother, the whole deal was pardoned.
The whole deal got pardoned.
Can you imagine that? While I was making my speech. Did everybody hear my speech? Woo! Did you like my speech?
Woo, she did. This wonderful Make America Great Again. These guys are spies, obviously. They're not feeling Trump's speech. Woo, get up. Woo. Woo, speech, woo. You did it, woo.
Thank you. I mean, the only thing wrong with it is I had a lot of tough things to say, and I have some great people that work for me. Sir, this is such a great speech. It's so unifying. Don't talk about Biden with his pardons of his family. We want a unified country. They said, don't talk about the J6 hostages that you're going to be releasing today.
Woo, J6, woo.
Sir, don't put that in your speech, please.
This guy's not feeling it either.
I said, but I want to put it in my speech. I said, sir, it won't be unified like it is. It's so beautiful the way it is. And it is getting great reviews.
Getting great reviews, that speech. You said you didn't know about Biden pardoning his family. Now you're saying that they told you to keep it out of the speech.
If I put things like that in, I'll get terrible reviews. One little paragraph that's a little bit wrong, the fake news goes crazy, right?
Boo, fake news.
So I said, all right, I won't put it in my speech, but you know what? I'm speaking in front of a hell of a lot of people at a place called Capital One Arena.
Boom, Capital One.
And I'll talk about it there. So we're going to be going over the beautiful Oval Office, one of the great offices in history. Even if it wasn't beautiful.
Even if it wasn't beautiful, it'd still be pretty great because I'm there.
Office, but it is beautiful. And we love the Oval Office. It all starts with the wars start and end there.
Exactly. With so many wars go through that Oval Office, it's unbelievable.
Everything starts and ends at the Oval Office. We love it. But we're going to go to the Oval Office. We're going to release our great hostages that didn't do, for the most part, they didn't do stuff wrong. You take a look at what went on, and look what happens in other parts of the country.
All right, so that's enough of this thing. There might have been some funny bits I'm missing. He goes in and signs the stuff here. I'll probably cover that next video because that's kind of funny. And I'll get the Morning Joe team reaction. I just got one more thing to show you here. So the Bidens are leaving, it sucks for them, especially this guy. And they ran on that there would be a peaceful transition of power. That was their big thing.
We see right now the outgoing first couple, outgoing President Joe Biden and outgoing First Lady Jill Biden.
Jill.
Standing at the portico of the White House waiting for the incoming President-elect Donald Trump and the incoming First Lady Melania Trump to arrive.
Remember Melania said that Obama didn't leave the White House. They didn't give enough information. Right?
It's one of these great American traditions, the peaceful transfer of power and the hospitality of bitter political rivals coming together because we are.
I mean, it's like kind of rude. You're getting kicked out of your house and the people are moving in and you got to be cool with them.
Are all Americans. It is a sight to see. It is a sight that we, as an American people, were denied 4 years ago.
Oh, my God. Why was that? What was the selfish prick that did that?
But it is good to have it back, and hopefully it will continue in perpetuity. Here is Donald J. Trump, the incoming 47th President of the United States. Let's take a look and see if we can hear it.
Look at her towering over Biden. Okay, there we go. Let's get a picture. Bundle up. It's cold as shit out there, you guys. Let's go in there. What do you got? Look at them dialing in there. They're just they're supposed to about a year apart. That dude towers over that dude.
There they go inside the White House, the 46th President of the United States
Boom.
and the 47th
What a moment.
President
What
of
a
the
fucking moment. How's this thing so long? It was like an 11-minute video. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here, but I'll cover a little bit more of this in my next video. Only spirituality will save this world. Its power model definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.